Exploring the Paranormal Perspective. Perspective. Exploring the Paranormal Perspective. Exploring the Paranormal Perspective.
You're supposed to say the lines.
Oh, is it? I gotta say that?
Yes.
Public service announcement. The views and opinions are the opinions.
Fuck that bullshit. They are my opinions and my guests, no one else's. Remember, this show ain't for chitlins' ears, so listening discretion and viewing discretion is advised. This is a paranormal horror crime show, so the scenes and the sounds could be a little terrifying to those little ears and those little eyeballs. And of course, there's obviously cussing. I mean, it's me. Also, please don't do anything that these stupid ass people do in this video or this podcast. This is for entertainment purposes and for you guys to listen with your ears. Consume the knowledge. And now, time for the show.
Exploring the Paranormal Perspective.
Was unmuted from my own podcast. What's up, everybody? It's Shauna with Exploring the Paranormal Perspective, founder of Geeks Paranormal, or you can just call me Geeks. Most people do. I have the wonderful, beautiful Tillie Treadwell on the show today. We're going to talk about her new book and talk about her life in the paranormal. Welcome to the show.
Hello, Shaw. Thank you for having me. Welcome to my life.
And it's funny, you guys, because I had her husband on the show first. I had Artemis on first. And very, very interesting gentleman. Very, very smart. He had a lot of logical things that he spoke about, and it was very interesting because it didn't happen until he met you.
This is true. This is true. Yes, 10 whole years ago. Can you believe it?
God, time flies. Time flies
Mm-hmm.
so fast. Well, Tillie, I want to find out for our listeners that might be seeing you for the first time, how would you describe yourself in your own words?
I'm an intermediary. That's how I like to identify these days. So my pronouns are inter and mediary. I like to say that I am a bridge between the human 3D world and then the non-human other worlds. And that's kind of where I sit these days. I mean, in the past, I was an exorcist with the Catholic Church. I was also known in certain communities as a gifted healer, medium, oracle and tarot card reader, and a medical companion. So I've lived a lot of lives, really, and I've done a lot of great things. But now I am an author for places like Outer Limits Magazine, Eerie Expeditions Magazine, which, by the way, I just launched a brand new blog over there called How I Met Your Monster. You might want to go check that out. And I'm going to be a speaker soon as well. Artemis and I are going to hopefully start booking more speaking events to tour the nation and share what we've learned together and separately on our paranormal journeys. Vending as well, that's definitely on the books for us, but we can talk more about that later. To finish answering your question, though, I identify as an intermediary and an author, but maybe a little bit more specific than that. I like to say that I am a quantum story collector and a quantum storyteller.
Oh, amazing. Those are some amazing stuff. Now you've gone from like Florida. I mean, you've been from Florida to the what part of the north have you
Oh, yeah, yeah. So it really just depends on which time in my life you're talking about. But
been?
I was born here in Lake Mary, Florida, and I spent a lot of time up north. So think like Pennsylvania and
Okay.
Ohio.
And that was due to
Yeah.
all the stuff that you were doing with the Catholic Church and stuff like that?
Uh, no. So when I was young, we moved up to Ohio, and that's mostly where I stayed for a good portion of my life. That is where I did get involved with the Catholic Church, though. So we wound up doing cases in Ohio and then over slightly into to Pennsylvania and a few surrounding states. But yeah.
Well, I'm a little curious about some of your earliest memories. Like, you've been involved in the paranormal for a long time. So, tell us a little bit about the beginning parts of your
Sure.
revelations.
So, hmm. you can see this a few different ways. I have what seem to be pre-birth memories, but I didn't get them until I was about 4 years old. So does that count as like a first encounter? Or does the encounter really count when I was in the baby carrier and I met the moon goddess? Or
You
who
know,
seemed to be the moon goddess?
I would think it would be
How does that work?
pre because you remember that. So it would probably more
Okay.
than likely be that way.
You glitched out. Can you say that again one more
Oh,
time? I'm so
sure.
sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I said it kind of seems like it was more pre. So in the beginnings
Pretty good.
where beginning, very beginning.
Okay. Fair enough. Yes. So when I was around 4 or 5 years old, I was at my grandma's house and I was looking up at the world around me, and my grandmother was heating things up in the microwave for breakfast, and I couldn't reach at all to see up in the microwave. So I didn't understand how a microwave worked. And I was really fascinated by it. And I thought that it was run on the machine elves, essentially. So I genuinely believe that there were small critters and peoples in there operating the microwave and whatnot. And then that same day later on, I was wandering about the house and I came to the realization that I could not toss myself or my consciousness into items the way that I used to be able to do before I came here. And up until this point, I didn't have any memories of being able to do that. But for some reason, it was like the frustration of being, you could say, trapped in this body.
Mm-hmm.
And my grandma explaining about the microwave um, just kind of triggered those memories in me. So I've always carried them with me since, remembering that I used to be able to hide in certain objects around my grandma's house before I was born because I was really looking forward to coming to Earth and I wanted to see what the family was up to. I wanted to get to know them kind of by proxy. And my grandma, she always used to have this really nicely decorated fireplace mantle, and I would hide in the little garlands that she would put up there. And she had a cuckoo clock. I would hide in the cuckoo clock and look out from within it. Or I would inhabit other objects just to watch. I would be like literally within the fibers of those objects, haunting them, you could say, and looking out into this world with excitement because it looked so different. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. I mean, you say you've met the moon goddess. When did you meet the moon goddess?
This was even younger. I don't even know if this was actually the moon goddess, if such a person does exist. This person just presented himself as the moon. I was in a little baby carrier and I was somewhere between like 3 and 6 months old or so. And I was plopped in the kitchen at one of my relatives' house in this little baby carrier with the handle. I was wrapped in a nice, fluffy blue little baby blanket, and I had my pacifier. And I just remember being really content. And I was just watching around me and whatnot. And then all of a sudden, boom, I was taken up out of my body. And I was suddenly being like held against a giant moon face. She had human features essentially, but it was the moon, you know? And I was like magnetized to her side or something, and I was still in baby form. So she was extra massive compared to me. And she said something to the effect, I don't remember the exact words, or I think it was a telepathic communication at that time. Just, you know how you get the feeling, the notion,
Mm-hmm.
the sentiment, but there's not always words? Yeah, it was like that. But essentially, she was communicating, thank you for coming to Earth. Thank you for the things that you're going to do and the role you're going to play. And is there anything that I can do to help you? And I still have such a vivid memory of it because I was terrified. There was this massive person holding me, didn't look like anyone I recognized, and she was thanking me for something that I had no idea about. So I just remember I started to scream and cry, and then boom, I was dropped back into my body instantly, where I spit out my pacifier and just started crying and screaming at the top of my lungs. So my mom, she came and she got me, and her and the family members, I remember them chuckling because I was being, a fussy baby and whatnot. And I just kept crying and carrying on until I cried myself out and fell asleep.
Oh my gosh. So most people can't even remember when they're 5 years old. How do you think you're able to
Mhm.
remember a lot of the stuff that happened to you when you were that young?
I love the way you think, my dear. So this gets into some biological differences that I have, and you might have noticed I do have big eyes, some very
Mm-hmm.
big eyes. Um, the my eyeballs are bigger than typically people have. My pupils and irises are also bigger, and the lens doctors have found is thinner compared to adults. So people between the ages of 7 and 13, roughly, grow thicker lenses over the eyes, and I didn't get a lot of that. So they think that this allows me to see further into the light spectrum, like little kids can do typically, and
Oh.
that leads into some of my experiences. My ears are also noted to have slightly different structure, and I have been noted to also be diagnosed as um, neurodivergent. So I'm level 1 autism, but also with low ego content and low emotional content. What they're finding now with certain studies that I'm involved with and other people who are doing more general autistic research, research based around autism, is that people who have autism have sometimes much longer running memories. So memories form in the brain earlier for some
Mm.
autistic people than neurotypical people. And so right now, the working theory is that with my autism and my different ear and eye structures, at such an early age, it left enough of an imprint on me emotionally, and was so visually and audio audioly no audibly rich in information for me
Mm.
that it left a complete permanent imprint of some kind on my brain and my mind.
That is very interesting. That is wow. So you've had to deal with doctors a lot your whole life?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And when I was younger too, um, I had been telling my parents and family members and teachers and stuff like the sunlight hurts. It hurts my skin and I don't feel well. And the body is able to recover a lot better when you're, pretty young. But
Mm.
they didn't believe me a lot of the time. And this was back in the early 90s. Porphyria still wasn't understood as nearly as well as what it is now. So they thought that I was faking for some reason or that there was something else going on. But yeah, I'd wind up regularly in the emergency room with what we now understand is medically anomalous porphyria.
So I'm learning a lot about you right now, and after reading your book, a lot about what you've been telling me kind of coincides with a lot of the different stories you have in your book. And we're going to
Mhm.
come to that whenever we get to your book. But I do want to delve more a little bit in your paranormal background and your expertise because you have, when I researched you, you've described yourself as like a conscious experience or a phenomena. Like, what does
Yeah,
that mean to you, and how did you come to understand that your experiences were different than most people?
sure. Well, this has been a lifelong journey for me because, oh my gosh, I wish I could just beam you what I have, like the full picture of what I just had in my head. Um, All right. So, for example, when I was really young, I was outside one cloudy summer day, and I was talking to the flowers. First of all, I had no idea that this wasn't normal, you know. And of course, I was a little kid, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was this person that showed up in the grass next to me, except it was not physically a person as we would tend to think of that there. It was a little sentient, it looked like a super shaggy gray wolf, but he was only about this tall, about like you can't see it,
Oh my
about
gosh,
this
so
long.
cute.
Yeah, he was very small. Um, I can't remember. He showed up sometimes. He had small horns coming out of his head, and he had cat's eyes sometimes, and sometimes he had goat's eyes, and he had bat wings sometimes, and then sometimes he had butterfly wings and really long pointed ears. So a lot of people are saying that he was a fairy person. But anyway, I was a very young kid talking to the flowers, and he popped up in the grass beside me, and I didn't realize he was there until I heard him ask me in here, but it sounded really real. He said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm talking to the flowers." And he found it very peculiar. He's like, "Well, your people don't usually do that." And I said, "Why not?" I know it was very odd. And like the more I think back on this encounter, the stranger it gets to me, even from everything I've known and understood. But maybe that's another story for another
Mm.
day. Um, anyways, he and I were talking, and I told him that I talked to the flowers every day that I could, every day that they were blooming, because I love them. And I mean, I still love them, as you
Mm-hmm.
can tell. That's my jam. Even right now, I have a red rose on my nail. Um, so we were talking, and he then asked me, he was like, "You live over there?" And I said, "Yes, I live there with my family." And he said, "Can I come in?" And I said, "Okay, you can, as long as you don't scare anyone or make too much noise, I guess." Because I wasn't supposed to be bringing anyone or anything home, you know? And I was a little tiny kid. Um, so he did come home with me. And I thought for a good while that my family members could see him because I could see him.
Mhm.
But then, because I had told him he had to be quiet, there was something going on where he, the one day, was in the closet that he liked to frequent, which was in my room. And he was chirping up a storm because that's how he physically communicated. He chirped. And
Mhm.
if you know anything about the old folklores, there are certain fairy races that are said to communicate via bird chirping. So, oh yes, I forgot to mention too, he had a long butterfly tongue. That was another feature that I remember
Oh.
about him very well. I named him Bo. He stayed with me for many years, and I have had a visit with him here in Florida. But on this particular day in the closet, he was chirping up a storm, and my mother thought that there was a bird trapped in the closet. Rightfully so. Who wouldn't think that, right?
Right.
I told her, no, 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 don't do anything. It's Bo. Bo is in there. She didn't know who Bo was because I had never talked. I just assumed everyone could see.
Mhm.
And so she tore apart this closet, and she could not find the so-called bird. She still, though, could hear him chirping up in the corner of the closet, and it freaked her out. She never got over it. And
Oh
that was
wow.
my yeah, that was kind of my introduction to the fact that not everyone sees and experiences even remotely close to how I do. I mean, there were a few other incidents as well with Bo around the house because he liked to hide under furniture, beds especially, and in closets. And so she put everything back, and she told me never to talk about it again,
Oh
that
my
it didn't
gosh.
happen. Yeah. So there were a few instances like that. And it really messed with my mind for a while as a young kid, because in private she would admit that something had happened, or she would be skittery. She started avoiding those closets. She started avoiding the furniture where she'd hear the chirping come from. She thought it was evil, demonic, or whatever. And so she would confirm that things were happening with me privately or with other people who heard it, but she would say, you can never talk about this because people will think that we're a bad family and we're crazy, or things like that, or you're crazy.
Yeah.
So that was kind of my awakening now. And I guess you could say part of my mission is to make the paranormal normal at this point.
Right. Definitely. Oh my gosh. So you've had some very interesting things happening to you in your lifetime. I mean, what as someone who's worked as a medium, healer, tarot interpreter, and with the experiences that you have had, how do you
Uh,
balance skepticism with belief in your field?
I love your questions. So for me, I never start out with any assumption. And this is part of my neurodivergence. I come into every situation fresh unless I am seeing and experiencing something with my own senses, and then can get some type of, I forget if it's formally called proof or evidence, so I do apologize,
Oh,
but proof or evidence to also back up what I am seeming to experience. So the way that I'm talking with you right now, and typically with other guests who are neurotypical, I make things a lot more casual and taken for granted. But when I talk with the non-human people, I'm very contractual, cut, dry, objective. And I am glad that you asked this question, because that helps me to be able to speak more formally and hopefully to an audience who will appreciate that cut and dry objectivity, because skepticism is in my opinion, a crucial part of disclosure and truth and balance. Now, to get to answering your question more directly, I don't show up with any assumptions. And this was part of why I wound up leaving the Catholic Church, because they wanted to show up with us always believing that the human family or the human party was correct and a victim and deserved, whatever the church could give them, and that everyone else, everything else was evil and, of the devil and lying and whatnot. And I found that that's actually not at all been the case. And I've faced a lot more harm and pain
hmm.
from human beings and people who have higher ego content than I ever have from non human people, demons, angels, fairies, the jinn, all of them. So I walk in with no assumptions, and I would flat out tell everyone, I am here to help and love everyone. I don't care if you're human, if you're non human. Um, I just do not care. I just want to find out the truth, get all the stories, and then see if we can come up with a plan that hopefully somehow works for everyone. And my methodology is not popular, but it is recorded to work, and to work pretty dang well if the ego can swallow it.
Right. It's a lot of
Yeah.
the humans in our world seem to be more critical and hate filled than anything here lately. Um
Mm,
you did say jinn, and that really caught my attention because a lot of people believe like demons and jinns are horrible, horrible beings and the most evil things you can possibly deal with, and you can't say jinn more than one time, or it you're gonna curse yourself. Now, what are your thoughts towards demons and jinns?
sure. Well, it may help to elaborate a little bit more about how I and now my husband live. So we live in a very haunted, enchanted life and house. And
Hmm.
we have no protections up whatsoever. We don't try to ward anyone off. It's an open house for everyone, and we welcome everyone. And we've never had any issues regarding unwanted visitors who cross any lines once the contract was clarified. And I can get back to that later. Um, But that said, I think that there's a lot of crossover between jinn, fae, demons, angels, aliens, cryptids, even human beings in a lot of ways. So the distinctions aren't nearly as crisp for me in my experiences as what a lot of other people here prefer to say. That also doesn't mean that they are so-called evil, because that's just a matter of perspective and opinion anyways. And I have found over and over and over again that the biggest driver of paranormal discontent, malcontent, you could say, is high ego content mixed with some type of superiority complex and or religious complex. And I know a lot of people won't like to hear that. However, this is what I have found. And the more that one is just openly loving, relaxed, fair, and kind towards everyone, no matter who or what they may be, the better the outcomes are for that party overall. I hope that that helps. I had another point, but it's been a long day. I already did another show today, so I hope that that helps. And
It
please pardon my
does.
cat in the background.
It's all right. I have dogs in the background, and they like this one. He comes up to me every time I'm on a show, and he's like has to be a part of it. And
That's funny.
he comes up here and he'll bump my arm, and you'll see me go like this every once in a while. And that's him bumping my arm, wanting my attention.
Nice.
um. So upon researching you, I'm like I'm saying, I've been researching you. God, it sounds like I've been stalking
Yep,
you.
great.
Um. You've encountered everything from like the Mandela effect to wild
Yeah.
night crawlers, like the non-human entities, like the Fae and stuff like that. Which
Mhm.
encounter stands out most to you?
Oh, that is not a question I was anticipating, my dear. Good for you. Which one stands out the most? Okay, I don't have one single encounter that stands out the most, but I can give you a class of encounters that stand out by far the most. How's that?
That sounds great.
Okay. All right. Non-human people of all types that I've met are obsessed with earthly liminality. This can kind of transition into why there are a lot of stories about the fireplace or under the bed or in the closets or under the couch, behind the couch, or there are some other liminal types places that sometimes people don't think about. They're a little bit less domestic, such as the grocery store and the back roads and the crossroads. And the class that I'm talking about now, I have met so many interesting non-human folks at grocery stores and at the back roads and crossroads.
Wow.
Yeah. If you haven't seen it, over this past year, there was a TikTok trend that came out for a while of people talking about how they've been running into strange strangers at grocery stores at weird hours, and how the person's face suddenly changed and things like that. So it's not just me. A lot of other people have been talking about this too. The difference is a lot of the time these people will walk up to me and they'll strike up a conversation, or sometimes they'll give me what I call a certain type of wink to let me know that they're indeed quite different, and they want to have a heart to heart. And that's happened to me too, again on the back roads and the crossroads. And my husband's been present with me for a few of these encounters, and um, yeah, that's the class that stands out to me most, which gets into actually my book, and it's the Guardian.
I was actually gonna go into that segue. But
Yeah.
like I was saying earlier though, you were talking about a lot of your past and what you have endured throughout your life, and a lot of the stories like Brianna and the Fae and her grandmother
Mm-hmm.
and the Easter bunny and the dragon lady with the acrylic dragons on the nails. those stand out to me the most, along with the Guardian. And I think the Guardian stands out to me the most is because of the love that the Guardian had for the person they kept seeing and
Yeah.
taking care of. And it's like, it's a hard love, but it's also a soft love, depending on what way the person goes. So,
Yeah.
what in these books, does everything in this book involve something that happened to you in your lifetime?
A lot of it does, but a lot of it is also based on cases, exorcism cases that I've worked. It's also based on relationships that I've had, or encounters I've had, and or encounters I've had with certain non-human people. Some of it's based on experiences that my husband has had over the years, and some are to be based on experiences that some of my coworkers and acquaintances have had after working with me for a certain amount of time. It's really a mishmash of all of them, and some of them too are just non-human people. They come up to me because I've got a big reputation now for writing paranormal content and doing these shows, and they'll slip me they'll slip me content like, hey, this would fit in really nicely over there at Eerie Expeditions, or at Outer Limits magazine, or in your next Tales book, or in this other book that you're working on, or you're going to get a book offer here soon. You want to put this in there for me? And yeah, and then we'll strike a
Wow.
deal. Yeah, it really
Oh,
just depends.
amazing. So
Yeah,
it's like
but
Tales for the Rips. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead. Finish.
oh no, it's okay. I was gonna say, if you read the back of this book, for people who are not yet aware,
Hmm.
these are indeed the tales. Although they are collected from lots of different genetic sources, they are actually all told from the non-human perspective, as I have been told and as I personally understand them.
Now, the book Tales from the Rift is described as a fictionalized retelling of true spooky stories. What inspired you
Correct.
to take this approach rather than writing straight nonfiction?
Privacy concerns for some people. Yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah.
That makes a lot of
So,
sense. Yep.
yeah, a lot of people, human and otherwise, tell me their stories in strict confidence, or if I do get permission to write about them, with some very strict boundaries. So I have certain guardrails when I write, whether it's fiction or nonfiction, and then when I speak as well, to keep everyone safe and happy while still getting the messages across. But I mean, in a lot of my shows and in my nonfiction works, when it comes to my own experiences, a lot of the time I do give just the raw details of whatever actually literally happened, so that everything is well balanced. Does that make sense?
Yeah. To me, it does.
Yeah. Cool. Cool.
um, the collections inside the book kind of span from Easter through New Year and following the calendar year. Was there a particular reason you structured it this way?
I love holidays, and I wanted to give people a sense of connection and nostalgia while playing on those warm feelings to help someone explore something truly exotic. What better way to do that than to present something um, meaningful, or to present disclosure with something close to the heart and close to home?
Mm.
Yeah.
Get it. I get it. Now,
So yeah.
there was one in there that really, out of all of them, I love them all. You had some horror stories in there, and you had some really fun, loving ones. The one that scared me the most, though, was the child. That, and I'm not going to go into detail with that. You're going to have to read her book. But the child really, I mean, it brought tears to my eyes. I went and grabbed my daughter and I hugged her, and I was like, because I used to live in Florida and I lived at the beach, and my son was almost
Yeah.
towed out to sea one day and I had to save him. And it was, oh, just thinking of that though, especially with how many people go to places, to tourist attractions and stuff like that. And it was
Mhm.
really scary. So that was a really good one. That was a really good one. If you want something to really, if a parent wants something to really just be like, watch
Freak
your
you out.
kiddos. Yeah. Yeah. So,
Yeah, yeah, and too, people get so up on end about me sometimes, because I admittedly do work with demons. I work with non-human people that typically human beings are terrified of, or they villainize because they don't understand the psychology and the methodology behind what a lot of these non-human people do. So in the tale that you're talking about right now, I had permission to share that one in particular because most people don't take what I say seriously anyways.
Mm-hmm.
So part of that person's message is to actually help better humankind by letting you know that there are predators about. And it is always wise to be humble, careful, and to supervise your children.
Yes.
But a lot of people, when I try to bring these messages in other ways, they poo-poo what I have to say, or they think that I'm arrogant or whatever. But when it's told in a linear story, the way that it is in that book, I find that people with more ego content than me will tend to actually listen a bit more if they can stop just saying that it's just fiction, it's just a story. But if you're a mom and you can put yourself in those shoes, and even if it's not a monster at the beach or a pedophile at the beach, what if it is just the ocean itself? So sometimes these so-called dark non-human people and my so-called dark stories are there to actually try to help the people who are ready and willing to listen. So this is why I don't see any good or evil. I just see different levels of development. I see different agendas and different strategies, and I support everyone and everything as an observer in some ways and as a small supporting character in other ways. And I think that that's the magic of life, is just exploring story at this point. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes, it
Cool.
does. Awesome. Now, the book does include choose your own adventure endings. You have two of them in particular that are like that.
Yeah.
That's a quite unique for paranormal fiction. What led you to experiment with that format?
All right. So this is where it gets into some good stuff I can actually talk about in depth. Almost all of the encounters that I have had with non-human people throughout my entire lifetime have been presented to me from the non-human people in terms of quantum timelines. And it's called quantum timelines here because this is what a lot of people here would understand right now. But what they say is that everything has already happened, it's happening right now, and it will happen in the future. But your anchoring in perception at any given time, any given freeze frame, is what gives you the coherent linear story. So they've always talked to me about timeline splittings and things like that. And this is where the choose your adventure, the choose your ending comes from for me within the context of this paranormal fiction.
Interesting. Very interesting. I was trying to find your physical form for me because I put in Tell 6 and I didn't put in the title of Tell 6. So we'll come back to that one. We'll come back to that one. But on this, whenever you created this, like, you're talking about your eyes being as big as they are and your skin being sensitive to the sunlight. Well, that kind of two stories in your book kind of portray to that as well. I'm not going to tell you guys what story it is. You're going to have to read her darn book, okay? But
Pushing hard. I mean, that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll get more sales. I love it. Thank you.
You're very welcome. So, do you see yourself as one of those particular characters that you have in your book?
I am whatever you dream me to be, baby.
You're gonna give a lot of people
In all sincerity, I'm just a person. I don't label myself as anything really. I allow and encourage everyone else to do that for me because for some people, there are a lot of things that I don't talk about publicly for one reason or another. But for some people, they regard me as a sincere angel, a guardian angel. Some people experience me as a devil, and they think that I am legit a demon incarnate. Some people think that I am a fairy or a djinn or a human being or a vampire, anything, this and that. Some people think that I've written myself into my own books. And I mean, I'm not going to stand in anyone's way of a good story.
Oh, you finished that before I could get to the.
Oh, should I chatter more?
No, go for it. Chatter more. No. I'm looking at, okay, so you have them titled differently. You have like 12 stories in here.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, title 6, bored. That's
Oh, yeah.
where Halloween time comes, the costumes come out to play. And has this ever happened to anyone you know personally, like well, or was this just a story you got from someone else that came to you and said, hey,
Sure.
put this in your book?
So this is actually a blended story because I
Ahoy,
did used to
mates.
be
Ads
an
be running.
exorcist.
Perfect
Some
time to drop
of
anchor on
the
that
parts of
subscribe
that
button and
story
keep this
are
ghost hunt afloat.
legit
Every coin
straight from an
fuels our
exorcism
spooky
case that I
sales.
worked.
Ah,
Other parts of that story are from the non-human being's perspective about possession and how it's experienced from their point of view and the methods that they use in order to gain access to a human body.
Mm.
Yeah.
Exorcisms and possessions are all very, very scary. And that story really got me because I'm a paranormal investigator, and every time I go out to investigate anything, it's like, okay, I got to make sure I'm not bringing something home that's gonna attach itself to me or any of my family. So that
Sure.
that was another one that really hit. I mean, a lot of your stories in that was just really so nostalgic and something that's like, you know what? Yeah, when I was a kid, I thought about that kind of stuff too, and what ifs and what ifs. So it was very
Yeah.
interesting to read it and see them come to life inside my imagination with what you wrote.
Excellent. Yeah.
So you say it's your
Might I
life's.
say
Go
something?
ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. I wanted to add too about the possession story board.
Mm-hmm.
It may help when people read that story. The underlying focus is to address grief and gullibility. So, a lot of people, when they lose a loved one, especially a parent or a spouse or a child, they will begin to reach outside of themselves. Hi, baby cat. For connection with that person, and they're not handling grief. This was a big part of most of the negative cases that I've ever worked. There's some serious underlying unhealed trauma, and that leaves a lot of people weakened. And there are some non-human beings who will feed off of that, take advantage of it, or they will see it as, hey, I'm going to get my food and I can encourage this person to finally get their stuff together and heal and whatnot. But that's not how it's going to come across. So non-human people, the way that they operate with each other typically is heart to heart, mind to mind, mouth to mouth. What you hear is exactly what you get with them. But most of the time, human beings are processing the words through ego filters. And when I say ego, I mean the clinical ego. It's what gives a human being mental story about him or herself. Like, I am this, I am that. Or it also gives story about other people. He is good, he is evil, that kind of thing. Those are ego expressions. That also, unfortunately, though, fuels grief and gullibility because people overlook red flags and sensibility. And I'm not saying this to be mean or to demonize. I'm simply pointing out clinical, psychological, and paranormal patterns that I've witnessed for years now. And now, if people want to learn more about the ego in the paranormal and the social sense. There is a fantastic video, in my opinion, about it by Healthy Gamer GG. His name is Dr. K, and he recently released a video about how people now are finding that the seat of human mental and emotional illness is the ego. And back in the day, I was training as a clinician. I was going to become a psychologist, a trauma psych. And I noticed these patterns and I started pointing it out to my superiors, and they laughed at me at the time. But now I'm just realizing I was at least 12 years ahead of my time. And so now this is a big part of the work that I'm doing for disclosure and for the evolution, you could say, of humankind, talking about the ego and how it relates to the paranormal and to possessions and things of this nature. Oh my goodness, I am so very sorry. I lost my point. I was talking about possessions. I promise this is all deeply interconnected.
You're totally
fine. Yes, okay, I remember now. Okay, so non-human people, what you hear is exactly what you get. So a lot of the old folklore stories will say that the fairies betrayed the human beings, but that's not what happened if you actually read the story literally for what it is. So a lot of the times, human beings will make a contract with a non-human party. They will break the contract for whatever reason. Then the fairy person will come back and dole out the consequences of that person's selfishness. And they will, the human being will then run back to the rest of the family if they survive the encounter and say, like, oh, fairies are horrible, they're evil, they did this to me or whatever. But they're not owning up to the fact that they had this ego tape playing in their mind that made them gullible to themselves. They were thinking that it was okay to do this thing to this other person, human or not, because they could justify it in their head. So when we look at this in a possession context, it almost always starts off with a human being playing an ego story that overwrites any humility. So they can have a medium take advantage of them, for example, in that vulnerable state, or if they're playing with the Ouija board, like in the story Board that I wrote, the very first person or thing that seems to come through, the person will latch onto and just assume that that person is exactly who they wanted or were telling themselves they needed to reach, instead of being objective about it and stepping back and saying, okay, this person or this occurrence may or may not be who or what it seems to be, and I need to tread carefully for my safety and the safety of those around me. And this happens all the time. Another fantastic example of this, a real world example that is now on record, and I'm so glad it is. Coast to Coast AM recently had a young woman, I believe her name was Michelle. She came on and she was talking about what she was calling a spirit attachment. If you listen to the show and you go point by point with the things that I talk about, she follows the pattern exactly, and she wound up possessed. The pattern that I talk about, typically speaking, if anyone follows my work somewhat regularly, a human being, a human investigator will show up at a place and assume that they already know. They assume that they already have the story. They assume that the human beings are in the right, quote unquote. They will assume that they know what needs to be done to clear the building, or to rid the people of this haunting or whatever it is. And then they become obsessed with solving the puzzle. So these are two ego functions that put human beings in grave danger. So she came on the record and she admitted, when I showed up to investigate this place, I thought I already knew what was going on. I thought that I was going to take care of it, and I thought that I could work with this discarnate being because I thought that I had all the answers. And I've never had any issues like this. I've always been respected by the demons and everything else, but over and over and over, they all tell me it's because I'm humble. I have what they call a core humility. And I don't claim to be special in any confident way. I was just born this way. I was born with low ego content, you know? I was born with my neurodivergence. So I'm not doing anything to be special. This is just how I exist. So, and a lot of people will reject my advice because it doesn't fit into their religious ideology or their own personal biases, and then they get hurt. And then they need help after the fact. And a lot of the time I can't, like, by the time someone's possessed, it's already too late. And I don't mean this, again, in a mean way. I mean it because their ego led them down that path.
Yeah.
And now they have to get themselves out of it by going through that dark night of the soul, getting genuine, objective psychological help, curing their codependencies, things like that. And even this young woman was saying she doesn't want to get rid of the paranormal attachment because she is afraid of how hard the journey would be to get back to who she was without this spirit attachment. So she talks about how now she's dependent. It's part of her integrated ego identity. And she talks about other things too. She's like, yeah, when I was doing this stuff, I didn't treat the people around me as best as I could have and as best as I should have. And she talks about how she went through a divorce because of the spirit attachment and how she had been so caught up in herself. I think it's how she put it. I don't remember exactly. And she talked about having had health issues too, that I talk about experiencing a lot with people who are going on that journey, which is being overweight, having food addictions, things of that nature. So yeah, I mean, she owns up to a lot of it, but I keep seeing those same exact patterns every step of the way, and I've seen them my entire life. And becoming then an exorcist and diving into possessions specifically and hauntings that are building up to possessions, there are always telltale signs. There's self-neglect, self-abuse, child neglect. They usually have at least one dog, which is another thing we can get into later. Dogs are highly corroborated with negative paranormal encounters for human beings. There's almost always alcohol, drugs, and then trauma and bodily inflammation. A lot of the time there tends to be obesity and liver damage and sugar addiction. Sugar and carb addiction, technically. Yeah.
I'm
the house
possessed then.
tends to
Damn
be...
it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I had to make a joke out of it.
The house tends to be not very well cared for either, and the person tends to have hygiene issues too.
You know, I've seen a lot of people
typically...
like that, and it's kind of scary, especially those that are in the paranormal world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes. So I always advise people to take as best care of yourself, your pets, your home, your loved ones, your neighbors as you possibly can. And not even to try to peddle fear, but it's because I genuinely want what's healthiest for people. And then just making sure that you vibrate at a certain level for the... Oh, cigarettes is another one too. You puffing reminded me, sorry.
Smoking. No, you're fine.
Smoking. Yeah.
Y'all, she's trying to say I'm possessed. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not possessed.
But yeah, I try my best to encourage everyone to be as healthy and happy and balanced as possible for themselves, for their pets, the environments, and then society at large, because that also determines your quality, your type, and your frequency of paranormal encounters.
So you say that most demons go for those that are with the more ego-typical kind of mindset?
Oh, yeah. Yes. So the more ego content a person has, the more likely they are to be highly entrenched in the good versus evil story, religion, politics, Oh goodness, those are the main ones. But yeah, they target people with moderate to high ego content because those are the ones that typically have the most growing and humbling to do. Because, and this I am not victim blaming, by the way. We are all born as we are. We're all having the journey that we're having, and I don't judge any of the journeys. I'm just describing the patterns. But the more ego content someone has, the harder it is for them to think objectively. And we're now becoming more and more able to prove this medically and scientifically. Also, the more ego content someone has, the closer that is linked to a person's nervous system being in consistent fight, flight, or freeze. And that's food for them as well. So the best thing that someone can do for themselves and for their children and for the communities is to get themselves and anyone under their care regulated within the nervous system, and then thinking logically instead of emotionally, and learning how to examine their own ego stories and to learn very concretely the differences between opinion and fact.
I always love to tell people, always try to have an open mind towards anything. My biggest saying is do unto others as you would have them do unto you, because by God, you coming at me with negativity, you're just going to get that back because you're feeding that negativity. So I always wholeheartedly, I'm always got a smile on my face, laughter in my voice, because I like to tell jokes. Laughter is the best medicine for me. I like to laugh, and I like to make people laugh. So if I can get people to laugh, even the one that comes at me on the phones when I'm on my calls, and I can get them to laugh at least one time, I've done my job for the day.
Excellent. And here's the thing too. What they've told me is that a person who has moderate to high ego content, they can be living in squalor, they can be in an abusive relationship, they can have a million dogs around them, and they can have drug issues. But if the ego content is humbled within them, they're not a target anymore because they're learning the lesson. They're growing over time. So it's all up in here. And most of the time too, I find that non-human people are nothing to human beings except mirrors of either what that human being already is, what they were in the past and still haven't worked through, or what they are becoming. And then the human being, that's how human beings set the contract, essentially. So let's say, this happened all the time. Let's just say that you, my love, start noticing strange noises around the house all of a sudden, but nothing's, nefarious or whatever. You've just got maybe, I don't know, a picture falls off the wall or something sometimes, and you hear someone in the kitchen, like they're making a sandwich or something, but no one's there. And you don't ascribe any story to it. You're just like, oh, okay. I walked in here, I investigated, nothing is in danger, there's no one here, I'm not being scratched or bitten or anything, so it's all fine. And you go about your day. That non-human person, in my understanding experience, is typically going to say, okay, she's cool. I like snooping around here. I might hang out a little bit more. Maybe I'll actually help out around the house sometimes because, there were the house fairy stories and whatnot of ages past.
Please help around my house more.
Yes. Who doesn't need that? The carpet needs vacuuming. Let's say that you have that situation. You walk in there and you start freaking out. You say, oh my God, it's a demon. I hate you. Get out. That kind of thing. You immediately make it a good versus evil ego story or something of that nature. Typically, that non-human person is going to say, oh, all right, I can play this game. This is the kind of contract you want. This is the kind of contract you're going to get coming right up.
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you, whether they're in your vision or not.
Yes, absolutely. And so there is an investigator that I stumbled across really shortly after Miss Michelle's, I believe that's her name. Please forgive me if I'm misremembering. But right after Miss Michelle's visit on Coast to Coast, his name is Ross Allison. Now, this guy, interestingly, he doesn't seem able to communicate and see the way that I do with non-human people, but he came to the exact same conclusions as I did about these patterns. And he says whenever I go into a place, I tell everyone, whoever they are, that I'm here to help everyone. And then when I leave, I thank everyone for allowing me to come into their space and allowing me to leave unharmed and unhaunted, I think he said. And that's exactly what I do after all of my years of working with non-human peoples. And that's all they want in most cases. And I found it really fascinating that this guy, without the abilities that I was born with, came to the same exact conclusion. And I reached out to him, and we're supposed to start collaborating starting next month, actually.
Nice.
Yeah, but he said the same exact thing as me. And he goes into lots of haunted places with lots of variety of alleged different types of hauntings, and he's perfectly fine. And I think it's that humility and that respect that makes all the difference. And I've worked with some non-human people that I can't even talk about directly to you or to the common population here because they're regarded to be so evil by human beings, but they've been the most interesting educational encounters I've ever had and been benevolent as well, believe it or not. There's one I could share. Wait, did Artemis tell you about the mirror person he met?
The one that came out of the mirror and he was looking over towards you? Yep.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. The following day, I welcomed that person into the house, and this person showed up, and we physically sat down at my table and had a conversation about what happened, how it happened, why he had to go through Artemis to get to me. And I mean, I don't have to have any kind of closed door. I'm not carrying crucifixes or anything. This person and I have a connection now, and we can visit whenever we please, and it's a friendship. But most people here would think that that's absolutely diabolical, you know? But
Or
the thing is,
nuts.
too,
Most people would think we're
or
nuts.
nuts.
Yeah.
And that's okay too. But this person's role to most of humanity is incredibly dark. But it's because, again, of the ego tales.
What people
So,
have
I mean,
spread out to other people to make them believe
exactly.
it's something. It's kind of like the
Yeah.
mass hypnosis technique that a lot of media and
Yeah.
social media and things like that do. And
Mhm.
people don't want to think for themselves. They just want to fall into that little
Yeah.
mindset of pardon the way I say it, sheep, so to speak.
Sure. Sure.
But that is
Yeah.
just a term that most people have used. But yeah, I've been very interested because I've been in the paranormal field since 2012. I had always thought paranormal, but seems like something in the back of my mind. And I've spoken to John Russell. He is an amazing human being, and I adore him. I did. I had him on the show earlier this year, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
So, but you know, I didn't really think about paranormal. I mean, my mom would tell me some stories that happened to her and happened to my aunt, but I didn't really think about the ones that happened to me until I really started. Of course, when everybody started watching Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures and things like that, then you start thinking back of like,
Yeah.
okay, yeah, okay, that makes a lot more sense. That's why it happened to me. And then I started going into the paranormal field in 2012 and been doing it ever since. And then just the past 5 years, 6 years, I've been doing podcasts because I've been wanting to get other people's insights and the different paranormal phenomena that goes on in our world to try to, my main thing is shining light on the paranormal. And it's not just shining the light on the paranormal, it's having the love and the laughter of stuff that's involved in the paranormal. Because you do have cryptids, you do have UFOs, aliens, you do have ghosts. So you have all these entities that a lot of people don't believe are real. But as like I say, you just got to experience it for yourself, and you got to keep your mind open for those possibilities, or you're never gonna.
Well, I don't know. I've worked with a lot of people over the years who say I don't believe in anything, but then they start hanging out with me and they start having their own experiences just out of the blue. So, and I don't even have to tell them about what I do or anything like that.
So you break a
But
believer
they
out of a
do.
skeptic.
A lot of them, yeah. A lot of them I have, believe it or not. Yeah.
On your mission, you did say a lot of times of your life mission to note patterns and ties between subjects that you study. Like, how does that philosophy kind of influence your storytelling?
Oh, it's all throughout. It is the
Mm.
basis of my storytelling. So I love to write with heart and humor, but beyond all of that is the thread of patterns. You know, I'm autistic, so pattern seeking is my thing anyway. Pattern recognition is my thing. Um, but I combine folklore with modern day events and encounters and my own experiences. And I compare all of them to look for the common threads. And then I will oftentimes check with certain people and sources to see if I can get any more information. And then once I have that whole seemingly rounded picture, that's where the magic really starts.
Oh, amazing. And when you're transforming a true paranormal experience into fiction, like, what's your process? Like, how do you decide what to change and what to keep authentic?
Yeah. Uh, It depends on the story, to be honest with you, because sometimes it's just me and my experience that I'm adapting somehow. Sometimes it's me blending an experience with another person's experience, or sometimes it's me blending any number of those elements with something that a non-human person is visiting and telling me about. So it really comes down more to collaboration than anything else. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely.
So I'll collaborate if I need to, and then I will put on my thinking cap and look back at folklore and whatnot and see if I have maybe missed anything that could be meaningfully integrated into the story. And once I have that complete, I'll go back and I will add in little meaningful nostalgic touches, or I'll assign a season or a holiday to it. And then I know this is going to sound completely woo, and that's perfectly fine. If people think that I'm nuts or that I'm lying or anything like that, I take no offense. I do what I call timeline scrying, and I will see what elements will have the most impact that I desire over any given amount of time. And so maybe I need to change the piece of clothing here on this character. Maybe I need to make this person be drinking a Pepsi instead of a Coke. Or maybe it has to be birthday cake and not pie. Things like that, you know?
Hmm. Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Do I sound nuts yet?
No, no, honestly, no. There was a question though on the time thing because you brought up time, and I do have a question that I am going to ask you about time here in just a moment. But I kind of want to stay on the writing process and your creative journey of how you've come about your stories and stuff. And I know that you're working with Zontar. Is it Zontar? How do you pronounce it? I'm mispronouncing it.
Yes, you got it.
Zontar.
Zontar Press.
Yes. How important is the community in the paranormal writing world?
Um, it varies person to person, group to group. Um, in my community, it's crucial. But then I know that in other similar communities in the wider community, it's not really that much of a thing. Just depends on who you ask and at what time, and maybe how the wind is blowing. I don't know. I mean, it's just there's so many different accurate ways to answer that question.
Mm.
I'm sorry.
No, you're totally fine. You're totally fine. But going on to your time phenomena that you're talking about, you've experienced odd glitches in time. Like, how has that shaped your understanding of reality and what we consider normal?
Ooh, you've got some fire questions tonight. I
Thank
love
you.
that. My pleasure. Uh, it's changed everything. If you want the raw, unfiltered truth, it's changed
I want
everything.
nothing but
What
truth always.
When I was a really little kid, and again, I had a lot of strange experiences just starting right out the bat, but this one has always really struck a different chord with me. I was again at my grandma's house, and my mom had me picked up. I was in her arm. Grandma was in the kitchen. My mom was standing with me right next to the decorated mantle, and there was a Roman numeral clock. And I was obsessed with clocks at the time, and I'm still obsessed with clocks, honestly. But I didn't know how to read time because I was like 2, 3 years old or whatever. But I was obsessed with these clocks. And my mom was chatting, so I was looking at the clock and I was studying the Roman numerals on the clock face. And I looked over to listen to what my mom and my grandma were saying because it was something interesting or something. I don't really know. But I looked back a few seconds later and the clock face had changed. So yeah, some of the Roman numerals weren't the same as what I had just seen a few seconds before. And it confused me and it freaked me out. So I started to tug on my mom's arm, her sleeve, and tell her, Mom, the clock, it changed. She wouldn't listen to me. You know, she thought that I was just being a dramatic little toddler or whatever. But that was my introduction to the Mandela effect and to the concept of timelines. And it happened again when I was about 5 years old with the stoplight. I was talking to my mom from the back seat about what each of the lights meant. And I was kicking my feet. I looked down for a few seconds, looked back up, and the red and the green lights had switched places. And again, I tried to tell my mom what I was seeing, and she would not believe me. Now, all these years later, I come across plenty of Mandela effects talking about Roman numerals changing and the streetlights changing as well.
Kind of like the
So there you go.
multiverse thing. Yeah, that really gets
Yeah.
me because it's like a lot of people talk about their past lives and things like that, and it's like, well, what if it's not necessarily a past life, just an alternate life
Yeah,
that
yeah,
people are
yeah,
talking about with the different timelines? Yeah, you could be you, but a male version of you on an alternate timeline
exactly.
or
Yeah.
something like that, and that interests me a lot, and I don't know why. But it's like you think about, okay, so what if I would have made
It's
this
because you want to be able
decision
to
then?
see standing up. That's what it is.
I do. Gosh darn it. And going in those porta potties with those dang gone extensions that you have to use is just nasty.
Ugh, yeah.
But no, it's just it's very interesting because I know a lot of people, especially a lot of transgender people, they believe they should be a female or they believe they should have been a male or something like that. Well, maybe that's their alternate timeline persona coming through on that Mandela kind of effect thing, making them
Yeah,
believe that could be. But that's just theories, and everything's going to be a
sure.
theory with that until we can prove anything like that even exists. But when we come to situations like that, it is kind of interesting because, like, the fruit of the loom, it did have a cornucopia. I was a child.
I will die on that hill. It had a cornucopia. And the
Yeah.
Monopoly man had a
Yes.
monocle.
A little
Monocle. Yes.
monochrome. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So it is kind of amazing to see that kind of situation because is there like a break? Is there a break in our timeline somewhere? Or is there a break in our world that is causing these effects? And if so, where is it? Why is it being hidden? And why are people being lied to?
Sure.
Because
Yeah. Mm.
go ahead.
I do agree with you. And I think some people are not ready. I think
The majority of people are probably not ready.
yeah, I'll square with you a little bit. Like I only talk about roughly half of what I know publicly because I sincerely believe and seem to understand that a lot of people are not ready. So until people are able to consciously accept things like base reality being fluid, they're not going to be able to accept too much else. I mean, if there are a lot of people, for example, who are religious people that I've tried to work with and that I love dearly and that I support, but they will not work with me because they genuinely believe that I am evil and that I am out to get them because of their religious beliefs and the ego stories that they tell themselves and they tell others. I'm still there in the background supporting them and cheering them on, but their ego stories will not let them believe anything different, no matter how much proof or testimony they are given to the opposite. Yeah. So if I'm here in the flesh and blood, trying to be as loving as I possibly can and supporting even people who dislike me and they don't even know me, how can we expect then for people to accept that base reality is fluid and that objects are not as they appear and people are not as they appear and that they can also be wrong about something while still having lots of room to grow with the universe instead of outside of it in their own minds, in their own way. So I think that there is still a lot of transformation that needs to be done before the majority of people are going to be ready to accept that time is not a straight arrow.
Right. I mean, there was even a proven fact where a scientist did finally admit that our lives are energy and that our energy goes back out into the universe after we die. And
Wow, good.
well, I can't remember when I saw that video. It was so many years ago, and I can't even remember the name of the doctor. And I went online to try to find this video again, and I'm having the hardest time trying to find this video. And it's like, I know I'm not crazy. I saw it, and I've had 3 other people tell me they've seen it too. So I know I'm not crazy.
Sure, it
But,
exists in this timeline.
probably not. It could have been another timeline, and I'm just maybe I'm crazy in this one.
Aw,
But
I
that's
empathize.
okay. But going on about timelines and everything, you've contributed some works with established names like Tim Swartz from Ancient Aliens. What is it like collaborating with other researchers in that field?
It's delicious in a lot of ways, at least for me, honestly, because we get to talk about things sometimes that are truly out of the box. So some of the conversations that I have, like with my good buddy Tim, I get to talk to him about things that otherwise I only talk to my husband about or to my non-human friends about because Tim is ready and he's been consistent and he's been full of integrity, at least when working with me. And he seems to really be trying consistently to transform along his path and to grow, quote unquote, as a person. So with some of these people that I work with, I have the best time and I absolutely love it. And then there are other collaborations that I have where I have to be a lot more reserved and a lot more tactful, and that's just as wonderful for me, but in a completely different way. I'm
Right.
getting to watch someone else's story unfold as they slowly walk that path towards maybe where I'm at or where Tim is at. And I just love watching all of it unfold, no matter who someone is, no matter where they are on that journey right then and there. I can always find common ground with someone to collaborate about, and then the relationship can grow from there if that person wants it. So I hope that answers your
It
question. I'm so
does.
sorry. I just realized like a lot of my answers are in such a roundabout way, and I swear it's not. It's not on purpose.
It is totally fine. It's like I told Artemis when he was on. Honesty is the best medicine. Be yourself. Just say anything that comes to your mind that is totally honest, because honesty, especially in our field, is so key to anything to have
Mm,
anybody believe in, because that one lie you have come out and that's
yeah.
just going to be the end of you. So I
Oh yeah.
am
Yeah.
I am constantly on about just be yourself and be who you want to be. I mean, tell not who you want to be, but who you are, because that is the truth of you. as a person.
Yeah.
So honestly, just be yourself, be you. That
Yeah.
is all that
Cool. I
matters.
love it. Yeah, and I'm just a person. I give as much as I possibly can without putting myself in explicit risk or putting other people in explicit risk. And this does mean that I hold a lot of things back. And I learned the hard way from 2023 to 2024, especially trying to break into this field more publicly, that everyone is ready for different things at different times. And I used to be just very flatly blunt and honest without understanding in full ego stories and how that influences my relationships with other people who operate differently than me and whatnot. So I had to learn and mature and grow in a lot of ways that way. And now I will admit I am a more dishonest person, but it's because I don't want to burden the other party with things that they are not ready for and or may not want. You know what I mean? Does that help?
It does
Yeah.
help. I think I'm the opposite when it comes to that, because I'm just like, I'm too old to mess with that bullshit. I don't beat around the bush. I tell it like it is, and that's just who I am. That's how I've always been, and life is too short to really not give it your all and be honest. And but that's,
I
of
am
course, that's
perfectly
me.
okay with that. Of course. And I support that too. And I wanted to be just that plain and honest and authentic, but the thing was, it was hurting other people in some very deep ways, in some ways, because some of the things that I know, people are not ready to hear, and it caused a psychological or an ego injury, and I don't want to do that to people. So let's just say, Shaw, like you're out taking a walk. What if I walked up to you one day and I just started telling you about yourself, things that were perfectly accurate, and I started making predictions about your future, and I started telling you things that you've got to change if you want to move towards a lighter timeline. If you're not in the right headspace to accept that, or to accept other like paranormal truths or something of that nature, it might scare you, it might shock you, or it could traumatize you. And so I've had to pull
that
myself
aspect
back
I can
and control myself.
understand.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about by becoming more dishonest. I'm meeting people where they are actually at, not where they say that they're at. Does that make sense? So this ties into what we were saying at the beginning with the ego content. So human beings have a lot of ego content typically. And so there's social context and ego context when we're communicating. And for most of my life, I didn't understand that. But when I would talk to non-human people, what you hear is what you get. And I thought everyone communicated like that until a lot more recently, when I started to understand the depth of neurological differences between myself and a lot of other people. And now I have a more holistic understanding, and I cater to the other party because I want them to be safe, happy, and comfortable too, as much as possible, while I support them on their journey. But I don't want it to be this way necessarily. I want a more honest, authentic, open world the way that I have with lots of other kinds of people, and with a few select ego having human beings,
Yes, definitely. Sorry, he wanted to make himself known.
Hey, who's this?
This is Asheron.
Asheron.
Yeah.
Nice.
Ouch! You just scratched my leg, dude. Go on. I love you.
Get out here.
But yeah, I totally understand exactly where you're coming from. I, as a podcaster and as a gamer, I do let everybody know, it is, what you see is what you get. If you can't handle bluntness or anything, it might be better that you don't come in, but just be aware that I'm going to be honest with you. If you ask me for my opinion, if you ask me for something, I'm going to tell you how I believe. Now, if you believe differently, I'm open-minded to hear what you have to say. I am, and I'll listen to it. But there's a lot of things that I've just gotten, I guess, ornery in my older age. That's like I'm trying to be. It's like, I'm not trying to hurt your feelings. I'm just not going to remember in 5 minutes what you said to me 20 minutes ago.
Sure. That's okay. Yeah.
But no, I totally get it. And I'm like I said before, do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. I totally treat people with respect first and foremost, and I treat them with kindness. And if they come at me with negativity, of course I'm going to come back at them with negativity, because negativity just feeds
Right.
negativity.
Oh,
Now
I agree. Yeah.
I try to be positive always, and I have been yelled at, I have been screamed at, I have been cussed at, and I have made them laugh at the end. So it just all depends on the situation of what's going on and what's happening. Now, if you're threatening my life, that's a different story. But when it comes
For
to
sure.
what we do in the paranormal and how we treat people and everything else, I always want that para unity where people can collaborate and get along and work
Yeah.
together to get things done. Just like bringing you guys on my show to push you guys out there, push your names out there, get people to know who you are. That is something that's really big for me. And of course,
Yeah.
another big side of me, aside from the paranormal, are veterans, because I am a veteran and I want to see
Mhm.
all of our veterans safe and secure and happy and not on the street. So there's a lot of
Right.
different give and take when it comes to humanity and people and non-people and all the people that are involved. So yes, I totally see where you're coming from with what you just said.
Cool.
And
Very cool.
a lot of people have to be how they have to be.
Yeah. I mean, I've lost a
Ahoy,
few
mates.
book
Had to be
contracts too,
running.
because
Best drop anchor on
the
that
person,
subscribe
the people
button if
think
you
that I
fancy
was
keeping
being
this ghost
too
ship
honest. And the
sailing
thing is,
smooth.
I see everything as deeply
Mm.
interwoven, and some people don't, or I can't see it the way that I do, and I'm okay with that now. But it was hard for me to understand where they were coming from, especially because, like, in my personal and professional relationships, I do best, and the relationship does best if we can just come to each other with advice, thoughts, criticisms, congratulations, whatever it is, and just talk about it with a nice, calm head, not with the ego in the way, not with giving each other,
Oh,
excuse me,
no, you're okay.
yeah, I'm good, just hiccups. But not coming to each other thinking that the other person's automatically out to get you, but because of how some people are just so used to operating in that fight, fright, or freeze, or in suspicion, especially for anyone who's different than them. There's no getting past that brick wall, or they're surrounded by people who use and abuse other people, and they don't care about that
Yeah,
nearly as
that's
much as they care about differences,
right.
So they'll stick up for people who have low or no integrity instead of looking at the situation as a whole. And then I often would get villainized because I've hit a breaking point. I said something that maybe I shouldn't have, not like cursing anyone out or anything like that, but
Right.
I'm just tired of the whole social situation.
Oh
And
my
instead of that
gosh, there you
person
go.
thinking like, hey, why is she's usually so sweet and polite. Why is she fed up? What's going on? How can I help? They're like, oh yeah, I'm going to cut her out and I'm going to stick with whoever, was the original problem, or I'll ask for feedback. Like, hey, can you help me learn and grow? And the person will just ghost me for months, sometimes years.
Oh my
And a
goodness.
lot of the time they won't come back until they hit that rock bottom. Predictions that I've made for them start to come true, and then all of a sudden they'll want my help. And this is also why my husband Artemis is such a fan of mine, in a sense, because with his own life and then with several of his family members, I made predictions that to this day are still coming true, down to the detail. But they were unsolicited predictions. They weren't ready to hear them. But now that that time has matured them in some ways, they see that I meant no harm and that I was actually quite correct and very wise in the situation. And so now they come back to me. And whether I will or will not take that person back, completely different story. But there are some people who understand now why I operate the way I do and the benefits of it, and they want to live that way with me forever. And that's my little, circle, and I love it. And I want to welcome more people into that, but I also want to support people who think, believe, love the complete opposite of me, because everyone I've come to realize, the ego story is always that the person with that ego is not the villain, is never the villain. So this person genuinely believes that they are doing good at all times, you know? And I'm like, okay, I will support that story or
I
whatever
love
outcomes it may
people
have.
that have that curious mind. It's like I tell everybody will tell you Shaw is just nosy. She's just, well, that's part of my
Yeah,
life. I mean, look at my podcast. I wouldn't be a
yeah,
good podcaster if I wasn't nosy. But no, I
exactly.
just wish everybody had like that curious mindset to ask more questions instead of automatically assume right at the beginning of something and say,
Hmm.
"Oh God, no, we gotta, nope, you're done, instead of going to that person and
Yeah,
saying, "Okay, so why do you believe that way? Why are
yeah, yeah,
you you going towards this route?" And I think if a lot more people did that, a lot more people would get along with each other
yeah.
because that's an
Oh my
open
God, yeah,
mindset.
yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
and the thing is too, I don't get I don't get involved with social groups very much anymore because I'm
Oh,
tired. You know, like
yes.
there were so many, and these are some famous authors too that I have tried to work with in the past. They've got these social groups, and these are like men in their 40s and 50s. They gossip with each other like hens and schoolgirls, but no one will talk to me directly about a problem that they have or anything. And
Mhm.
so I'll hear about it roundabout and whatnot. And then I'll try to reach out to the person like, hey, I'd love to schedule a catch up with you. What's going on? Is there anything that I can do better for you? Anything like that. And they will not say anything. They'll betray me hardcore in some cases. And everyone will know about it before I have. And so I've pulled back majorly, and I'm mostly just done. And I try to stay in my own lane because of that. But I will say, when I work with the non-human peoples that I have and that I do, I don't have any of those problems.
Right.
You know, if there's an issue, we just talk about it. We get it out on the table. We find a solution for both of us. If either of us maybe could do better, we'll make the adjustments. We make the contract. It's done, and I
Communication
can count
is
on it being done.
key.
Oh my gosh, so
Always.
yeah, and even my husband, who has had his own interactions with these non-human peoples, and he's lived, of course, long term with me, he says all the time, I like your way of communicating much better. I love the relationship style of these non-human people so much better.
Mhm. Because
And that's
communicating is
coming
key.
from it is, yeah, and that's coming from a dude who grew up, of course, entrenched in ego and humanity. So there
Mhm.
might be something to what I'm saying, and other people too. They love working with me because they say it is so easy. But then the people who are not ready to lay down the ego, they
Mhm.
do genuinely believe that I am evil because everything that they try to do with me is incredibly difficult,
Yeah.
but they never stop to think about why that might be and why or how they might be playing a part in
Or
that
talk to you
difficulty.
about it.
Or yeah, or even if someone just talks to me about like, why do you do this thing or this thing, I'm more than happy to say I do it because I'm trying to give you the most information that I can,
Mhm.
or because I understand this thing to be important at this time. But if you need me to make an adjustment, please tell me and I'll be happy to do so. No
Mm.
one ever takes me up on that.
Oh
Not
my
one of the people.
gosh. It's like they're scared. It's like what we call keyboard warriors. They'd rather just talk behind a
Hmm.
keyboard instead of talk to somebody face to face. And it's like,
Yeah,
don't. If you
yeah,
want an
and
honest
it's hard.
answer or an honest opinion, go to that person directly and ask them what's going
Mhm.
on, what's happened. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
exactly. And even if I ask someone a question that they think is too involved, all they have to say is, "I'm not comfortable sharing that with you right now." And I'll say,
mm,
"Okay, I completely understand, and I'm sorry. I didn't mean to step on your toes like that. I'm just trying to help in the best way that I
mm,
understand possible." And it's all true. But I
yeah.
don't get that far with most people who have moderate to high ego content because they're already telling themselves stories. And it's the same thing with all of these other non-human peoples. You
Mhm.
know, they think everything is demons now. That's the thing. It's either aliens or demons, you
Oh
know?
my
So
God. Not
I
to
know
be
you know what
started
I'm
with the
talking
demons.
about.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I was like, I had somebody coming, how can you go to these haunted places? Aren't you afraid that they're demonic? I'm like, oh my gosh. Do you know how rare it would be to come across? a really evil entity in a location,
Right.
no, you're not gonna get. It's not like I hate to pull it up. Zach Bagans coming up on Ghost Adventures. Everything is demon. It's like
No
I
comment.
understand it's for entertainment purposes only, but geez, dude, you can only say demon so many times.
I mean,
Oh my gosh.
my PR agents don't want me to say anything, so I'm gonna.
You don't
You're
have
onto
to.
something.
But I totally get it. I get it. You've gone through your paranormal stuff and now you're just trying to make entertainment for people. I got it. I got you.
Sure. Get that bag.
Right?
Whatever, I guess. I support their stories too. I don't know.
It's just you get that and you get all these people like, aren't you scared? Have you ever been scared at a location? No, I've never honestly been scared at a location. I've been doing this for over a decade and I've been welcomed. I've been felt welcomed at locations. There was a location that I did in Arkansas. They don't allow people in there anymore. But when I first got in there, it was an old TB hospital. And of course, I'm different color hair, piercings, tatted up. And the first thing that comes across the spirit box was freak. I'm like, okay, I got you.
That
But
could be
then
a compliment or an insult, depending.
I actually felt like it was an endearment because when I went back 3 or 4 more times, and every time I was like, hey, do you remember who I am? And you would hear freak just come across the spirit box. It's like, oh, you remember me.
That's so funny to me because that's indicative of a lot of non-human humor that I have encountered. A lot of the time they'll fixate on certain things or phrases or items, and that becomes like a repeating pattern in the relationship. Or here's a really good one. Do you know the story about Jeff the Talking Mongoose at all?
No.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, if you're ever interested, in Eerie Expeditions magazine, I wrote a whole article about him, examining him from my exorcist point of view. And then on the Weird Walk Home channel, Artemis and Tim Swartz sat down and had an interview about Jeff recently. And so Jeff has been on my mind a lot lately. But Jeff, during part of the alleged interaction with the family, was being challenged by the father of the family. The father of the family was saying, come on now, tell me, are you really a mongoose? And Jeff allegedly said, I am. And then he peed on the floor in the middle of the room. So this was like his twisted way of providing proof that he was a physical living being. But then also over there in the UK and the surrounding areas, they have a term called taking the piss. And so that could have been a cheeky reference to an old-timey kind of taking the piss reference, which means, to joke or pull someone's leg. Yeah. And I keep finding that these are the quirky kind of communication details that consistently are around with these non-human people, but a lot of the time human people take it as like an insult or a challenge or something like that, when really it's just someone with a completely different off-the-wall sense of humor. So I'm not surprised at your story whatsoever. You could take it however you'd want, and it could be perfectly valid either way.
I think any of them that think I'm a freak, especially if they're from a different time era, I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
Yeah.
It's an endearment for me. So getting into some of the speaking engagements that you have coming up for 2026, I know some of them include Maryland, Florida, Arizona. What can audience kind of expect from your presentations?
Oh, I love that question. Yes. We don't have anything confirmed yet as far as dates go for the Full Disclosure Now conference, so please keep that in mind. But we will be taking the stage in Maryland on January 10th and 11th. And we plan on making it a really immersive, interactive experience. So it's not just going to be you being lectured at. We have a fun game plan, I think. And every interaction where we go to speak is going to be a bit different. It's all going to center around the paranormal and integrating the paranormal and non-human psychology into one's own life for their greatest and best benefit and the most getting the most joy out of life, essentially. And that includes as well some of my own paranormal techniques and exorcism techniques. But yeah, it's hard for me to describe outside of that because we plan every interaction to be something different so that it encourages people to come out more and interact with us more, ask us questions more. And, there might be some audience engagement right in the middle of the show or all throughout the show. It just depends on how many people show up and how involved they really want to be. Yeah.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I hope to make it to at least one of them. It would be pretty
Please
awesome to see
do.
you in person and see you both in person and have you on the show on there,
Yeah.
because that's what I usually do. I go to the conventions and I set up my
Yeah.
computer and my podcast for people to come over and tell their stories. A lot of people don't even come and sit in the chairs. I'll have the chair sitting right next to me and they'll just stand on the other side. And I'm like, you can sit if you want. No, I'll just tell my story
Oh,
from here. Okay.
no, babe. Babe, you have got to come to the Maryland event then. Please come. I think you're going to love it. We're going to be that's our very first show, but I'm also going to be vending there. I'll have all of my books for sale. I'm going to be having my handmade small batch organic dessert teas there as well, plus some very special candles that I'm making. We're going to have a beautiful booth set up
Oh,
there. I'm going to be doing possibly some tarot readings and maybe some intermediary work there. You've got to come.
oh, you'll have to
If
send
you
me the
can, if you can.
information to the
I
event and I'll see what
will.
I can do.
Oh, please do. And I mean, we have the hotel partner and everything. It's a 2-day event, and the hotel is only $109 per night.
Oh, that ain't bad at all. That is not
No,
bad at all. I will definitely look into it.
no.
You'll have to send me that information. I'll look into it, see what I can come up with.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And no hard feelings if you can't make it, but I really think you'd love it, and we would love to finally meet you.
Oh my gosh. There's a lot of places. I know there was one place that somebody was talking to me about wanting to get me out in Bowlington, Kentucky. Oh,
Oh,
I
I'm
don't
not
even remember what it's
familiar.
called. And then there's another place in Florida that somebody was talking to me about, and I don't even remember the name of it. I said, well, give them my information, and if they email me, I'll see what I can do. And that's kind of how I take it.
Yeah,
I take it if they email me and say, hey, we want to
yeah.
invite you. And I was like, oh, okay. All I ask for is gas money down there and back, room and board, and my table. That's it.
Totally fair. Yeah, well, this is a brand new event, so you'd be
Mhm.
getting in at
Oh, I
ground
would
level,
pay it.
essentially.
Yeah, I
Huh?
would pay that. I'm not too known by anybody yet, so I'm not.
Yeah.
I usually pay my own way unless I'm invited.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's got some pretty big names lined up already, and I don't know. I just think that you might enjoy yourself. But hey, honey.
It's also about networking too. I always like to go out and just network.
Yes. Artemis is home. You want to say hi?
Yes.
Not camera appropriate, but hello.
Hi.
Oh, he looks sweaty. He just got home from work. Yeah. Hi, Nudie. What you doing?
I have paperwork to do, but Shauna, it is very nice to hear of
Hi.
you, and hopefully you can make it to the event. But we enjoy
We'll
talking to
see.
you greatly.
Yeah, I have enjoyed talking to you guys too a lot. It's been awesome.
Excellent. Very cool. Well, I'm gonna go about cleaning myself up here, so I'll leave you to it.
Bye.
Okay. So for some listeners that can't explain, that have some unexplained phenomenons that happen to them, what kind of advice would you give them?
Oh, goodness. Every situation is different, but start off with a place of calm and humility whenever you can. If you suspect that it is a place that it is haunted or occupied that you don't otherwise enjoy and or that is causing you distress, I would recommend getting a hotel room for a few days. We're going to stay with someone who's calm and grounded for a few days so that you can really get your head on your shoulders and then think about what's going on and try to be more logical about it. Is the activity actually negative, such as you getting scratched or bitten or things like that? Or is it something that is neutral or maybe even positive that you are telling yourself stories about, or that you are frightened of or shocked by because it's outside of your norm? Once you have some of that information settled, you can start to, develop a plan of action. And so for one person, that might mean admitting that, yes, this place does seem to be inhabited in a very violent way, so I'm going to move out, because I never recommend trying to pick a fight with anyone non-human if you're human. Please don't ever do that. It's much safer to vacate the space and to start then doing the shadow work on yourself in a brand new place. That's much safer and healthier for typically everyone involved. If it's a situation where you are hyping yourself up, possibly about neutral or maybe even positive events, it might be good for you to take a break and then go back to that place. And you can even just say out loud, hey, I'm new to this and I feel very intimidated, and I would really appreciate it if you would tone down the activity while I adjust, or if you would leave, because I'm not ready for this. And a lot of the time, just that respectful interaction will end that case. It really depends a lot on the contract that you want to put forward to these non-human people. So my husband and I, we're well accustomed to shadow people, to fairies, to, lots of different types of encounters. But a lot of the things that we see and experience, we know for a fact scares other people. But if you can get a handle on your own fear system and then slowly invite certain types of non-human people into your life, within certain boundaries, of course, and as long as you're doing your shadow work, you'll become more accustomed to interesting events over time, and then it'll eventually become your new normal, and you never know who you might meet at that point. But if you hype yourself up in a negative way over it, or if you hype yourself up in a super positive way over it, saying that the activity, it has to be an angel or it has to be grandma or something, both ends of the spectrum, you are setting out a contract that may or may not be for your best interest. So objectivity is key. Time and objectivity. That's what I would recommend.
Good deal. Good deal.
Yeah.
So, what is next for you after Tales from the Rift? Any hints about future projects or directions your work might take?
You know what? I was about to make a Facebook post about this,
T's
but
wisdom
I'll just
forged
get
on
to it
stormy
here, and then I'll
seas.
make that post a
Mate,
little bit
got
later.
a spooky tale or
Yes.
question for this
So
old
I
salt?
have two
The
books
spirits be
releasing over in
restless
the
tonight.
UK here soon. I haven't talked too much about them, but I've collaborated with Malcolm Robinson of the SPI in the UK. There's a book about past lives coming out that I had a part in, and then also about missing 411 and fairies and whatnot. So I wrote a chapter for that. I have another book coming out with Zontar Press, hopefully by the new year. We're still getting some kinks worked out, but it is about ghosts and hauntings. And so I talk about that from my experience perspective, and people might really like that. There's even some non-human psychology in there too, for anyone who might be interested in that. Beyond that, I am a new blog writer for Eerie Expeditions magazine. You can find my brand new blog, How I Met Your Monster, over on eerieexpeditionsmagazine.com. I write for their magazine as well each month. And then Outer Limits magazine, I'm going to start writing for them regularly too. I think, their next edition comes out December 1st, I think it is, something like that. And then Tales from the Rift is going to be a whole series. The next one comes out in late spring of 2026.
Oh,
So we've got that
sweet.
to look forward to. Yeah,
Yes.
it's going to be It's going to be a whole 12 tales and a continuation of Brianna's story. But all of it's going to be based in the summertime. So we'll start out at the beginning of summer and then work our way through to the end of summer at the end of the book. And I'm going to be writing a whole series of the tales books and exploring different holiday and season themes and whatnot. Let me see. Oh, yeah. And I do have one other thing. So, have you ever heard of the tale of Stingy Jack?
No.
All right. So his tale is where the term jack-o'-lantern came from. You might want to look into that.
Okay. Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
have actually looked into that, but I didn't think of the name. So yeah.
Perfectly fair. Well, last year I wrote for a small publishing company about Stingy Jack and his tale, but I condensed it into a more modernized short story that was based off of tarot cards that I pulled for the project. I know,
Oh.
right? It's called The Light from Albamuth. That's the name of the book. And there is my story within that book. That is the book actually that made an appearance at the end of the first Tales book, if you read the epilogue.
I did. That
Yeah,
was
so that's the book that
cool.
Brianna found. Yeah.
Oh.
There is that short in that book that my publisher loved it so much, I was granted a novel based off of it. So I'm going to be working on that. It's going to be in the same universe as the Tales books, but that's going to be coming out somewhere between 2028 and 2029. Yeah.
Oh, that is amazing. You guys,
Yeah.
you have to get this book, especially if your readers are between, I mean, even young readers, but readers my age and younger are, I mean, the nostalgia you get from reading these stories is absolutely phenomenal.
Off the charts.
Off the charts, definitely off the charts. It was an awesome read. I did send her a review of what I thought. Actually, I want to tell you something. That is the first time I've ever written a review for someone. So
What?
yes,
No way.
yes way.
What? Or
So it was the first time I've ever written a review. Now I've told a lot of authors what I thought about it and how I like their books, but I've never written a review on a book before. So you popped my cherry on that one.
excellent. Excellent. Oh my gosh, that makes me so happy to hear.
Oh,
Yeah,
I was very
love
humbled
that
that
you
you
do
even wanted anything like that for me. So I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna try to make this as best as I possibly can.
No, I thought it was fantastic. Yeah, and please let me know when you've got it posted on Amazon
I
too, because
will.
I bragged that I got a good review from you, but it's different. It's official when it's on Amazon, you know?
Yes, definitely. I'm actually was getting on Amazon today, and I didn't want to do it from my personal account on Amazon. I wanted to do it from my
Sure.
business account. So once I get that
Sure.
business account set up, I will definitely have it up there for you. Because
No
I've never
rush. I
written a
totally
review
understand.
before, so it's like, oh, well, I guess I need to start doing that if I'm going to start writing reviews.
You might want to. Yeah, you might want to.
But going off of all that you just said, if someone could only read one story from your collection to get a sense of your writing style and perspective, which would you recommend and why?
No questions asked. It would be tale number 8, Deal.
Deal. That was an amazing
Yeah.
story. That was one of my favorites, definitely. The love and compassion. And you don't
Yeah.
really get that because you get the feeling of, oh, is this a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, you really don't really find out until ongoing that it's like, oh, this entity really loves them so much. I'm not going to give you any spoilers. You got to get the book and go read it, Lone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we can talk a little bit about the concepts behind it if you like, but definitely no spoilers.
Yes, no spoilers. No spoilers. Okay, concept is good.
Okay, cool. We can do that. The basic story is that Sean and his little sister are having a Halloween night together. They're out trick-or-treating, and there's a chance encounter at the crossroads. Does that sound familiar? Yeah. And this relationship completely transforms Sean's life. Is it for the better? Is it for the worst? You decide.
Yep. And this is one of her interactive stories. So once you get the book, there's 2 endings to this one. The other one that she had 4 endings.
I believe so.
Yeah, 4 endings. And that one, talking about morals and being humble, that is a very good story in and of itself, because that really is a life lesson right there. And Lone says, I
100%.
love those type of stories. Good. Then you got to go get it. It's called Tales from the Rift by Tillie Treadwell. It's on Amazon right now.
Yes. And I do offer, by the way, custom autographed hardcover editions. If people are interested, I've been getting some orders for those. So if this is a Halloween gift for someone that you love or for yourself, if you're interested, I'm more than happy to make that dream come true. But as far as Claudia's story goes, that was based on a real story and some of my own experiences. I would like to say that this society is not nearly as purely human as what a lot of people think it is, you know? And the mechanism in that story is getting your acrylics done. But the mechanism in the true story was something different, but it still had the same morals. It still had the same type of interactions and the same characters overall with the same potential outcomes. And just something to keep in mind when maybe, reading that story back. Yeah.
Interesting. Lone wants to know how they can get an autographed version from you.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I am on throne.com. You're going to want to go to throne.com/Tillie Treadwell.
Let me write that down so I can put that in the links.
Yes, please.
Throne.com/Tillie Treadwell.
If you go to that link, you'll see a nice option there to purchase the autographed copy of the book, and then it depends on where you live. If you live in America, you'll buy the $34.99 option. I think there's one other option for
if only autographs could be summoned by
overseas,
candlelight and haunted
but
ink,
you'll just
I'd barter
select
me
whichever
last bottle
one
o' rum
happens
for one
to
myself.
suit your location. I'll get the order. And then as soon as you've placed the order, I need you to please email theweirdwalkhome@gmail.com and just provide some kind of proof of your purchase, because you may or may not have given proof on the Throne website. And then I will take care of the order from there. I'll get your book ordered. I'll make out whatever message you like, or I'll be more than happy to dream up one for you. And then I'll ship it out, and all orders come with tracking. So as soon as I get the tracking, you get the tracking.
Awesome. Amazing. And you said theweirdwalkhome@gmail.com, right?
Yes, ma'am.
All
Yes,
right.
ma'am.
Good deal.
And I should say I'm working on getting a nice website and web shop set up, but I have so much on my plate right now, and I'm still, healing medically, so I don't have it right now, and that's why I've got the Throne website set up instead. It's just temporary. I know it's a little janky, and I'm sorry for that. I didn't expect so much interest in getting the autographed copies of this book, but I've been flooded with requests for them. So I had to set something up because I can't keep track of them, and I don't have my own shop yet. And I'm sorry for any complications.
It's okay. It happens. It happens. It's one of the reasons I had to set my website up. I do that myself. Yeah. That's what my bachelor's was web design and interactive media, and here I am, an insurance person.
Talk about an unexpected timeline.
Right? On an alternate timeline, yep. So finally, for our audience members who are drawn to the paranormal but maybe haven't had direct experiences themselves, what would you want them to know about this world you inhabit?
It is incredibly magical, and that's magic with a Q. Something you'll also learn about if you read my other nonfiction works. But anything can happen at any time. And if you keep your mind open, the possibilities are truly endless. as well. You never know who you'll meet on Earth.
No, you don't. And you'll never know who you're connected to, because I had no idea she was connected to John Russell until I read that first part of your book. And I saw his name and I went, is this the same guy that It is. So, yep,
Wow.
it was very interesting how it was just things just kind of connect and come together, because it was absolutely, I mean, even with Artemis, having him on the show, I had no idea y'all knew John. And it wasn't until your book and I read it and it's like, oh, that's amazing.
I love John. I've done shows with him in the past, actually, on the Weird Walk Home. If you ever, oh goodness, feel like taking a trip down memory lane from a few years ago. So we've done some fair amounts of work together, and I'm hoping that he'll be writing forewords with me for quite a while to come. Great guy, I think, and I'm glad that it's a small world, you know?
It is a small world. So where can our listeners connect with you and follow your work?
Absolutely. The best places to do that are a few. Majorly, Artemis and I are active pretty often over on Facebook these days. So if you want updates for shows, for events, for books, magazines, blogs, everything, you're going to find it right there. It's just Tillie Treadwell. You search that, and of course, you'll find my pretty face and friend me. That's really the major hub. But then outside of that, please keep an eye on the Eerie Expeditions blog that I run now. It's called How I Met Your Monster. So if you go over to eerieexpeditionsmagazine.com and you click on, I think it's to the far right, and it's like travel news. It says something of that nature. Click on that. That's the blog where all of us bloggers write. And then you'll see How I Met Your Monster is right up there at the top with the other blogs, and you can actually read more about my genetic differences and my scientific research right now, because literally just yesterday I posted a brand new, my very first blog over there.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, outside of that, you can also go to weirdtimebook.com. That is where Tim Swartz and all of us contribute to the website. So there is a blog over there. I haven't written there yet because I've just had so much going on, but that's our website. And the Weird Walk Home on YouTube. Artemis is in the middle of a series right now where he video diaries essentially all of his paranormal encounters and the lessons that he's learned along his journey with me. And later on this month, I have a brand new series that is coming out that I think a lot of people are going to really, really love, because I'm going to be reacting to viral paranormal TikToks and whatnot from an exorcist point of view and a paranormal investigator point of view. Yeah.
Sweet. Amazing. Well, Tillie, I want to thank you so much for being on the show today. It was so fun. And don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you after the show. Everybody, thank you guys so much for watching and being here with us the last couple of hours. Next week, I'm going to go over my review of the Oz Fair. I'm going to be at the Renaissance Festival in Missouri, in Ozark, Missouri this weekend. Keep an eye out for that, because I will be going live throughout the whole time I'm there from Saturday and Sunday. Sunday night, I will be going over the review of what I thought of the Ren Fair, and I'm going to be going over haunted military location. So that's my theme for this month, is military locations. I actually cut that out because I wanted Tillie on the show today and told her to go over there and grab this date.
Yes, I remember you did tell us that. Yeah.
Yep. It's like, I was booked for October, but I will take that out if you want to pick that day.
I hope it was worth it. Truly, I do.
It was totally worth it. Totally worth it. So y'all tune in this weekend, Saturday and Sunday. I'll be live at the Renaissance Festival. And then the next week, I will be at Sleeper Mortuary for all-night live paranormal investigation. So tune in for that. Until next time, I'll see you guys later. Stay free, stay safe. Always do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Bye, y'all.
Switch it on and come along. Haunted houses all night long. Gaming streams and ghostly scenes. Just chatting with the in-betweens. IRL on the case, finding spirits in each place. Every game she plays with flair. Geeks, paranormal, she's there. Ghosts and games all night. Geeks, paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so right. Trying to stream, it's quite a sight. From the haunted house she flies, gaining worlds under the skies. Chat and laugh, let's have a blast. Geeks paranormal here at last. Ghosts and games all night. Geeks paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so right. Try to stream, it's quite a sight. She flies, gaining worlds under the skies. Chat and laugh, let's have a blast. Geeks paranormal here at last. Ghosts and games all night. Geeks paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so right. Trying to stream, it's quite a sight. In the dark, she finds the light. Streams so fun, she's out of sight. Every ghost and gaming fight. Geeks paranormal shines so bright. In the dark, she finds the light. Streams so fun, she's out of sight. Every ghost and gaming fight. Geeks paranormal shines so bright. Ghosts and games all night. Geeks paranormal's bright. Just chatting feels so right. Try to stream, it's quite a sight. It's quite a sight.